Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching from. Welcome to another video here on Ty Talk Sports Network. The NBA trade deadline is exactly 2 weeks away at the time I'm filming this video, just a few days under by the time it's up. But my team, the San Antonio Spurs, have some trade rumors floating. I'm going to throw the tweet up on screen now from Legion Hoops. It's right there. The Spurs are calling about John Collins and the Hawks are calling about Derrick White. And I just want to quickly break down my thoughts on this trade, what can it do to the Spurs roster, and really what I want them to do going into this offseason and what I think they should do. So, John Collins, he's a guy I wanted in free agency. He's a guy we had the cap space for that we could sign. But instead we brought in Doug McDermott and Zach Collins. And then we traded DeRozan for Al-Farouq Aminu and Thaddeus Young. I really felt like part of it was just, I felt like we had all this cap space and we weren't really doing too much with it. Yes, Doug McDermott has really became a fan favorite and fast. Zach Collins, though, hasn't played a game yet. He's still recovering from that ankle injury. However, he's been on G League assignment for a few days now, and he's been playing great over there in the G League. So I expect him to be back for the Spurs sooner than later in the next few days. But I just really felt like that we missed out on what we had potential with when it came to this money that we had to offer big-time guys. Now, granted, we have free agency cap space next year. I'll get to that in a minute. But I felt like last year was it really was an underwhelming free agency for what the Spurs really could have done. Now, granted, this is San Antonio. Big-time free agents don't normally go to San Antonio. It's a small market. The only reason that guys really go there is to really play for Greg Popovich. And I feel like his reign in San Antonio is really coming to an end in the next few seasons. So, obviously, free agency, it's not a great destination. We don't attract big name free agents. There was always, I remember when we talked about having to maybe possibly getting LeBron. Whenever KD went to the Warriors, there was interest in that. We couldn't keep Kawhi Leonard. The Spurs don't get big time free agents. The biggest one we got was LaMarcus Aldridge. But talking about trades, this is interesting because what the Spurs have in front of them, I feel like they have a young roster. We have the pieces. We have DeJounte Murray. We have Derrick White, gold medal Olympist, Keldon Johnson. We have Devin Vassell out of FSU, second year, who's been thriving. Trey Jones out of Duke. Josh Primo. We have the youngest kid in the NBA. Like, the Spurs have some great young pieces that I feel like they can work something with. But I don't know if this is the year they're going to even try and maybe think about making a playoff push. What I've said about this team these past few weeks is that they really need to decide who they are and what they're going to do for the rest of this season. The goal is to get the winningest record of all time, and we need, I think, 8 more wins to do that. We're at 18-31 or something like that right now, and we need 26 wins. So we're almost there. So that's really the overall goal of this season, but I feel like at some point before the All-Star break, this team needs to figure out what they want to do, what they want to become. And we need to decide, are we gonna try and make a playoff push, or are we gonna go for a high draft pick? Because I don't think the Spurs need to do what they've been doing these past few years, where it's like, can they make the playoffs? Can they get somewhere? Can they win games? Or should we go for a high draft pick? And we've been stuck at 11 and 12 for our lottery picks these last 2 years. So when it comes to John Collins, I feel like he immediately is going to make an impact on this team. He's going to bring that interior presence that the Spurs haven't had since Tim Duncan, since LaMarcus Aldridge. The Spurs haven't had a solid big since they left. He brings finishing. He brings aggression. The Spurs need a guy who can get the dirty work done. Like, we have Jakob Poeltl, but he doesn't really impress me when it comes to his aggression. Like, in John Collins, he fits that role of young, athletic, fun. Like, he's a player who I feel like would have a perfect role on the San Antonio Spurs roster as a guy who can shoot the 3 ball and can catch lobs. He's a guy who will get the interior work done. He'll chase rebounds. He'll fight in the paint. Like, John Collins is a guy that the Spurs really needed. I really wanted him last year. As I said, it sucks that we couldn't get him. And the opportunity to have him on this roster midway through the season would be great. I just don't know if if the Spurs really know what they're doing. Now, what Derrick White brings to this roster is him and DeJounte bring, in my opinion, the best two-way backcourt in the NBA. DeJounte Murray leads the NBA in steals per game, and Derrick White, I know, somewhere around the top 5 in charges drawn. Like, these two guys give opponents backcourts, they give themselves a problem. Like, these are two aggressive young guys who just go in there and they just play. Like, they don't hold themselves back. They sacrifice their bodies. They make the defense game-saving plays. Like, these are guys who get it done on both ends of the floor. DeJounte Murray should be an all-star in my opinion, but Derrick White is just his running mate. When these two guys play together and they play together well, this team wins games. They beat the Bucks, the Warriors, the Lakers. They beat these teams that are competing for championships. And and when they play against contenders, when these two guys play well, they play to the level of the contenders that they're running with. Like, these guys play on their level. So the Spurs really have some young dogs that go out there and just fight. So I don't really know how I feel like if we should ruin this this chemistry between Derrick and DeJounte. I speak for the fans right here. This is something that we've wanted for years. We've wanted young guys to finally take over. Since the Kawhi rebuild, since we traded him, DeRozan was solid, but like these last 2 years where we missed the playoffs, we're like, what's holding us back? And it was just we had young talent. We didn't use them properly. And now we've let these guys run. DeJounte Murray is leading the team in almost every category. He's second in the NBA of triple-doubles with 10. DeJounte Murray should be an all-star. Derrick White is a perfect running mate for him. He gets in buckets. He's averaging 14 points, and his defense is great. He's arguably the best blocking guard in the National Basketball Association. This duo runs great. And then you have Keldon Johnson, who's just a dog. He just fights. He just does the dirty work. He gets in there and he drives to the rim with no hesitation. He has a straight line. He has a straight line, and it's get to the rim or shoot a three. He's top 3 or 5, I'm not sure, in the NBA with 3-point percentage makes. He's 43% from three-point range, and he's made almost 70 or 80 threes, I think. I'm not 100% sure. I'm just trying to remember what I can. But the Spurs have young guys. Like, they have pieces, and this is what we've been wanting. We've wanted to see these young guys just play ball, and this is what we finally see. Do we want to ruin this by potentially giving away a core piece of our guys for someone who is under contract? But I think what the Spurs really need to do, as much as I would love John Collins on our team, I think the Spurs need to save their players, need to save their picks, and what they need to do in the offseason is go after DeAndre Ayton. We're going to have cap space this year. We have the ability to sign another big-name free agent, and DeAndre Ayton is a guy who still hasn't had a contract extension yet. They've had problems these past few months of him not being able to get that contract he thinks he deserves. And DeAndre Ayton, he's a future center. Like, he's a future superstar, in my opinion. I think he's going to be an elite center for the next 10 plus years if he stays healthy. So if the Spurs can get this guy on their roster and pair him with Murray, White, Johnson, like, I feel like that's going to be a great young team. It's going to be a team that'll fight in the playoffs, that will develop, that will create stars. Like, if we can have that piece on our team, then I feel like this is the missing piece. The Spurs have needed a big for years. And if we can get a young, rising, star potential big in DeAndre Ayton, I feel like this team will absolutely run with it, and they'll win games. As much as I would love Collins, I would much rather have Ayton. I think I'd rather spend cap space on a much proven guy, on a guy who's played in the finals, who knows how to play with stars. Like, I want a guy who knows what he's fighting for. And him and Murray, I feel like they would be an amazing duo. So, I mean, that's really my overall process, my overall look of what the Spurs are really trying to figure out right now. I would love Collins on the team. If it happens, I would hate to say goodbye to Derrick White. Derrick White has been one of my favorites for years. I really hope we don't break this team chemistry that him and DeJounte have, because they have something great. They have something in the works, and I really feel like when this team learns how to win games, like, they're going to be good. There was a stat the other day. The Spurs have only scored one less point than all of their opponents combined throughout the season. This team just doesn't know how to close down the stretch yet. This team, when they learn how to close down the stretch and win games, they're going to be good, guys. I really do think they will be good. I'm not saying out of the bias, but just out of statistics. So, I think the Spurs have something nice in the works, but they need to keep this young core together, and then we need to wait till the offseason and bring in DeAndre Ayton. I think we need to figure out once again if we're going to tank or not. Because if we're going to go for a high draft pick, we need to do it sooner than later, instead of trying to do this, let's try and make the playoffs. Oh, wait, no, we missed. Here's a low lottery pick. So that's really how I feel about the future of the Spurs so far. I really think we should just hold off and get Ayton if possible. It would suck to not get anything out of it but I don't want to break up this team chemistry because I feel like there's something in the works. So that's all I really have to say about these reports going on right now that the Spurs might be trying to get John Collins. Hey, if it happens, it happens, and I'm just here. I'll make a video on it if it does, but hey, if it doesn't, then I'd love to see what this team has in future, and I'd love to see what this team can pull off in free agency. Until then, that's the end of this video. Make sure, once again, drop your hot takes in the comments below for next week's Hot Take Tuesday video, the first ever. But until then, you guys have a great rest of your day, whatever time you're watching it. And until then, this is Ty Talk Sports signing off.